The Catholic Church has been ruled by the Pope as an influential figure for centuries, a liberal custodian of the Holy See and a key moral voice in some of the world's most serious political and social issues. However, despite being a symbol of Christ-like wholesomeness in the Catholic world, this hasn't always been the case. Some popes in history really did seem to have their own ideas. Hello friends, well, if you often have fantasized on the past and really want to know about the history of ancient civilizations, then you're at the right place. Welcome to Unthinkable Past, a channel better known for dishing up the outlandish ancient traditions of all times. Today we're going to check out the most sickening popes in the history of the Vatican. So better buckle up and let's bench history together. As a religious institution organized not by angels, but by imperfect human beings, the Roman Catholic Church has rarely, if ever, been able to live up to the lofty standards set by the omnibenevolent God whose very will it claims to represent and enforce. As in, not all of the Church's 260-plus popes have been models of piety. In fact, some of them are best known for their fiery tempers, outrageous sex scandals, and dubious financial practices, far from acting as the conduits of a benevolent deity. These religious leaders blatantly threw the teachings of their own church out of the window. Well, let's come to the popes you'll find in the history books for all the wrong reasons, starting with Pope Benedict IX, 1032 to 1044, April to May 1045, 1047 to 1048, who literally sold the papacy upon his retirement. Just wait a moment, let me tell you that. Pope Benedict IX was only 20 when he was elevated to the throne of St. Peter in 1032, making him one of the youngest popes. His father, already a wealthy man thanks to the patronage of his two uncles, Pope Benedict VIII and Pope John XIX, bought his papal crown, putting an immature, licentious youth on the throne of St. Peter. Benedict's sexual antics became the scandal of 11th century Rome, as he can't be called a demon from hell in the disguise of a priest unless you indulge in some sinful practices. His contemporaries accused him of theft, rape, and murder, in addition to courting young lads at the Lateran Palace. To spice things up, Benedict enjoyed orgies and bestiality sessions, was basically a sadist who enjoyed torturing, burning, drowning, and flaying to death those who angered him. The Romans tolerated him for 12 years before exiling him from the city in 1044. 2 months into the reign of his successor, Benedict returned to Rome. In the only instance in history of the same individual serving as pope more than once, Benedict excommunicated his replacement and reclaimed the papacy, beginning his second pontificate with as much sexual debauchery as the first. He's thought to have been the first homosexual pope, even though he briefly abdicated the papacy to marry his own cousin. Benedict's adulterous reputation first led to him being deposed and driven out of Rome by May 1045. He soon returned to power only to auction off his papacy to Gregory VI. Once more, Benedict regretted his decision and seized the papal office again. But just King Henry of the Germans was eventually summoned to drive him out of the Holy Roman Empire. Moving on to Pope Sixtus IV, 1471 to 1484, who practiced homosexuality openly. Can you believe it? To surround themselves with loyal supporters, popes appointed friends and family members to significant positions in the church during the Renaissance. Cardinal Francesco della Rovere elected Pope Sixtus IV in 1471, elevating nepotism to new heights. Primarily remembered for commissioning the Sistine Chapel, but this magnificent accomplishment didn't overshadow his sins, for Sixtus was known to have a voracious sexual appetite during his pontificate. He surrounded himself with attractive men throughout his papacy and appointed 23 cardinals. The majority of them were young and handsome clerics. He reportedly had a tendency of bestowing a cardinal's hat on his lovers in one-night stands. Sixtus's closeness with his nephew, Pietro Riario, however, turned heads. Pietro's parentage became a matter of contention. As the son of the Pope's sister, many gossip mongers claimed Sixtus had fathered the child himself. Regardless of Riario's paternity, the Pope took his nephew as his lover, spoiling the vain Pietro with land and wealth. He led one of the most lavish lifestyles in Rome, subsidized by the papal coffers. And when Pietro died, he left the papacy in so much debt that Sixtus had to raise taxes and sell offices to the highest bidder. Although historians emphasize Sixtus' homosexuality, he had 6 illegitimate children for whom he used papal funds. The church soon ran out of funds. Sixtus established taxes on prostitution and he also penalized priests and cardinals for having mistresses. The Pope continued to take male lovers, and his romping sex life didn't affect his legacy. No one cared who he slept with when he died in 1484. Something repugnant lingered in his mind that he signed the papal bull authorizing the Spanish Inquisition. Let's now check out Pope Alexander VI, 1492 to 1503, who took papal corruption and nepotism to its pinnacle. Born Rodrigo Borgia, the late 15th century Pope Alexander VI enjoyed a long career as vice-chancellor of the church before he bullied and bribed the Curia into electing him in 1492. And as a Spanish-born pontiff from the powerful Borgia family, Alexander VI was an ambitious and ruthless politician, infamous for his libertine behavior and nepotism. Taking the name Alexander VI, he transformed the papacy into a nepotistic kleptocracy for the benefit of his family. Alexander's nepotism was so famous that his surname Borgia became a byword for corruption. He made his son Cesar Borgia the Archbishop of Valencia when he was just 17. He was perhaps history's most brazenly corrupt Holy Father, and did not bother with even the pretense of a fig leaf to cover his venality. He openly sold church offices as well as indulgences to the wealthy. Unconcerned about his vows of celibacy, he openly acknowledged having fathered 9 illegitimate children. Suggestions persist to this day that Alexander was also engaged in incest with his daughter Lucretia. Alexander had many mistresses and sustained a lengthy relationship out of wedlock with a wealthy Italian called Venosa de Catene as well. She bore him 4 children, all of whom Alexander used his papal authority to legitimize. He even gave Venosa a cardinal's palace to use as her home. Alexander became known as one of the most morally corrupt popes in the history of the papacy after arranging diplomatic marriages for his children in order to expand his political authority. His son Cesar, a cardinal himself, fathered 11 illegitimate children, while Lucretia had many affairs during her 3rd marriage to Alfonso d'Este. In 1501, Johannes Burchard, the Vatican's master of ceremonies, recounted one example of Alexander's sexual desires. The Pope, joined by his children Lucretia and Cesar, watched as 50 prostitutes stripped in front of him at a sex party known as the Joust of Whores. Given his history with women, whether or not he afterwards solicited their services is debatable. However, the intrigues, orgies, and skullduggery that took place during his pontificate were enough to lead a recent Showtime TV series which revealed the debaucheries and conspiracies of the Borgia family. And finally, we have Pope John XII, 955 to 964, who turned the papal palace into a whorehouse and died while having sex. John's disreputable character was legendary among his contemporaries. The people of Rome accused John XII of incest, murder, and rape during his early years as pope. To fund his many vices, John exploited the papal treasury as his personal spending account. He indulged in the city's prostitutes, housing many of them in the Lateran Palace for his own pleasure. Moreover, when he wasn't in his brothel, John would seduce Roman widows and kidnap female pilgrims on their way to St. Peter's Basilica. The stories of his inclinations spread throughout Europe. The number of women traveling on pilgrimage significantly decreased. John was even accused of having an affair with his own niece. The Pope was a man ruled by his passions. Bestowing wealth and power on one of his mistresses, he made her governor of Rome. In fact, no woman was immune to John's lust. He also seduced his father's longtime lover, who became pregnant and died after childbirth. Pope John XII died in the bed of his latest mistress after nearly a decade of sexual escapades. Although the church records indicate that he died of a stroke, other accounts claim that the woman's husband broke into the room and caught the lovers together, and the jealous husband proceeded to severely beat him. John died 3 days later. Meanwhile, his conduct in church affairs was no better. He accepted bribes in exchange for bishoprics and even castrated a subdeacon who displeased him. So you see how the legacies of these popes not only tarnished the reputation of the Roman Catholic Church, but also inspired inquiry into the legitimacy of the supposedly eternal truths that its religious teachings claim to contain. Well, there you have it. We hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel without any delays. Make sure you turn on the post notifications and also let us know in the comments section about your views on history's most outrageous papacies. Thanks for watching Unthinkable Past. Until the next time we meet, continue learning and stay healthy. Ciao!